Hello and welcome to a quick video that accompanies the blog post I've just written on the try catch finally block in C#. This is part of my C# for beginners series. The purpose of a try catch block is just to say that if this code is going to cause a problem, instead of letting it crash, let's handle the crash, handle the exception, do something about that, and then continue with the rest of the code. So we start, we try something, we check if there's an exception that's occurred. If it has, we handle it. If it isn't, we just carry on. Once the code's handled, we'll carry on. This finally block is a choice. It doesn't have to be there, but it can be useful at times. Okay, so let's have a look at one of the most common use cases for needing a try catch. We're going to start in Visual Studio, and we're just going to take a user input, convert it to a number and output the number. It's just an easy use case. So we've got a console.writeLine, then press enter. So we've got two lines so far. The first line tells the user to enter a number, and the second line takes the user input and stores it into a variable of type string called user input. Next, we're going to cast this, so integer number, and casting in C# is typically done with a parse function, so int.parse. And then we're going to pass in user input. And then we're going to do console.writeLine, and we're going to output number like that. Okay, so that's the basis. And this comes with a problem. If I run that and I type the number 10, it's absolutely fine. That's my input, that's my output. It's what we should expect. However, if we type in the word 10 rather than, we get a crash. And this is what we're trying to avoid, okay? We don't want it to crash. And I could do exactly the same in Rider. This works in exactly the same way. So if I run this, type in 10, we'll get the output 10, finished. Run it again, type in TEN, and we get a crash. Okay, so how do we handle this? We handle it by adding a try catch block. So we have try. I prefer that with it, the word exception, it doesn't matter. So this is our try block, this is our catch block, and we're now going to move this code into here. We're not going to throw the exception because that would cause an actual crash. But what we are going to do is just add a little bit here. The following exception occurred, and we'll have a \n so it goes on to a new line. Let's just console.writeLine. This runs after the try catch block. Okay, so let's have a look at that. And I'm going to actually add a debug for this one. No, I'm not. I'll run it on its own first. So if we put in the number 10, it outputs 10, which is here. Doesn't do that because the exception hasn't occurred, and then it comes out of the block and does this one here. Run again, type in 10. This is different. That's the input. Then this is, it's tried this, it's failed. So we've done the console.writeLine, we've got the exception, and then it takes the exception data from there and adds that onto the new line, which is here. And then it comes out of the block and runs that. At this point, we haven't had the crash. So what I'm going to do is just put that code back outside the block so you can see the difference. I'm going to comment out this bit of code so it's no longer running. Now if I type in 10, we can see, because we haven't got the try catch block there now, this line here never runs. Okay? So it's crashed, that's it, program's run. But with the try catch block in place, although we know what the exception was, and we could do other things with it, the program hasn't crashed, it continues to run. And this will work exactly the same in Visual Studio, and I'll flick back over there shortly. Before I do, I want to show you the catch block. So I can add a catch block in like that. Oh, I've already done the catch blocks. Oh, it's because I've done, it's finally that I needed, not catch. There we go. Okay, so this will run regardless inside the try catch block. So let's see that one. But this time I'm going to add a breakpoint in. I'm going to debug this one. Okay, so I'm going to type in the word 10 first, and then we're going to step in, or step over. So we're going to step in. We try this. It works, so it's... Hang on, what have I done there? Why does that throw an exception? So try into try constant. Okay, so this time I'm going to type in the number 10. And then we're going to step over. It tries to do this, it succeeded, it continues to try to do that, that succeeded, so we skip the catch block, come down into the finally, we run that code, then we drop out of the try catch finally altogether, and we run the next line. Okay, now I've shown you this in Rider because I think it's easier to display on the video. Because in Visual Studio, which I'll take that across to now, you have to split the windows. So let's copy that, come across to Visual Studio. There we go. So we'll run it, except no we won't, because we need to add a breakpoint. It's a breakpoint. Okay, so this is just where it gets a little bit more difficult to sort of show what we're doing because I'm having to play around with two windows. But regardless, we're typing the number 10. And now we're going to do the same thing. We skip that one and we're done. If I run it once more, this time I type in 10. We come back over, we start stepping over. So it's caught the exception. Let's then come into this catch block that we skipped last time. Then it will come down to the finally and the code outside of it. If I just flick quickly back to rider, so we're going to start stepping over. Exception has been called. We're handling the exception. We're running the finally code, and then we're dropping out of the try catch finally and running the rest of the code. Thank you for watching. This concludes the video. Bye for now.